Alright, Danny, in this last video, we're going to look at what you can do to improve as a hitter. The second thing you can do, which is what you do with your hands to load your hands as you take your stride forward. Okay, and this is so important because if you don't get your hands in the barrel of your bat in the right position when your front foot lands, you got to do a whole lot of extra work to get your swing in the right spot to make consistent contact with the ball. And in order for you to understand this, I'm just going to go ahead and get Manny Ramirez and you to the launch point. And what I mean by launch point is what you look like after you finish your stride when your front foot lands on the ground. This is the most important position for a hitter because if they don't start in the right position when that front foot lands, they got to do a lot of things to be able to make up for it. So it's all about right here when that front foot lands, what you look like as a hitter. And so I'll take you to that spot right now. And I want you to keep in mind, this is the video that we took after we did some instruction and after you practiced for a while, just to kind of help demonstrate how tough it is to change this habit. So this is you with your front foot on the ground and Manny Ramirez with his front foot on the ground. And there's some things that we're looking for here to be effective as a hitter in terms of our load. The first thing we look at is the barrel of the bat. Take a look at where the barrel of his bat is. And then we're going to look at the knob of the bat. The knob of the bat should be pointed towards the catcher. Now, look over here on the left-hand side where the barrel of your bat is, all the way wrapped behind your body. So you're going to have to swing this bat all the way around to get to the point of contact, whereas Manny Ramirez is going to be able to work up the plane of the pitch a whole lot more effectively. The second thing we look at is the back elbow. Notice how Manny's back elbow is up and pinched towards his back. Take a look at where your back elbow is at. It's dipped down here. It's not loaded back. The last thing we're going to look at is the front elbow. Manny Ramirez's front elbow is pointed towards the ground, like that. Whereas your front elbow is pointed towards us. So these are the position. This is the position that you're in, and this is where you need to be when your front foot hits the ground. Now what we're going to do is take it back to the stance and talk about some specific things you can do to get to this position. So let's go right away to the stance position. And I want you to focus on where your hands start in comparison to where Manny Ramirez's starts. Notice how his hands are even with his back shoulder and not any higher than his back shoulder. This is a really important concept because if your bat starts too high, if you're not really skilled at loading your hands the right way, the bat will automatically drift behind your body. If they're even with your shoulder, there's nowhere for them to go, and that barrel of the bat isn't going to drift as far back behind your body. So my first recommendation in your stance position is going from here with your hands and just bringing them down right here. And it's going to feel really weird for a while, but it's going to make it a lot easier for you to load correctly. So that's tip number one. Start with your hands in a better position at stance. Tip number two. Don't worry about loading the hands until the front foot starts to go forward. So we're going to go ahead here and get Manny Ramirez into his knee lift. And you're going to notice here, when he starts to lift that foot, the hands really don't do much. The back elbow doesn't do much. At this point, the back elbow is not loaded. The front elbow is not pointed towards the ground, and the knob of the bat isn't pointed towards the catcher. He's going to do the work with his load when his front foot starts to work forward. And the reason he's going to do it that way is so that everything is in sync when the front foot lands. So from this point on, what you're going to see is you're going to see him load this back elbow. See him lift that back elbow up and load it. And when he does that, the barrel of the bat automatically gets the right position. The knob of the bat gets to the right position, pointed towards the catcher. And that front elbow gets pointed towards the ground. Shoulder slightly inward turn. In contrast, on the left-hand side, let's watch what your hands do. Notice how that back elbow stays pointed down. You're at the top of your knee lift here, and here's where you're starting to go forward. And that back elbow never loads. Instead, it just continues to drift down towards the ground. And as a result, the hands are staying high, and the barrel of the bat stays behind your body. Another way to look at it, another way to view this is from a back angle. So we'll pull up Manny Ramirez from a back angle here. And we're going to pull you up from a back angle. On the right-hand side, look where Manny Ramirez's hands are starting. Dead even with his back shoulder. Not any higher. Look where your hands are starting. Way above the back shoulder. More importantly, watch what happens here. Here's his knee lift. And at this point, he's ready to take his stride forward. So from here, he's going to step towards the catcher, or step towards the pitcher. And watch what this back elbow does. He's going to take this elbow and pinch it back that way and lift it so that when his front foot gets down, he's in a good launch position. On the left, take a look at you over here. You're at the top of your knee lift. Let's take a look at what your hands do when you take your stride forward. The elbow continues to drift down towards your hip. The barrel of the bat's way back there, and when your front foot lands, look at the position you're in. And this causes you to have to do a lot of work to get to that ball. The barrel of the bat's all the way back here. It's got a long way to travel to get to the point of contact. Whereas if the barrel of the bat's here, less space to travel to get to the point of contact. So that load is something you're going to really have to work on to get yourself efficient and to maximize your power and your consistency.